$216 was for the ag barn, and $54,000 was to purchase 2 vehicles, a driver's ed vehicle and a truck. Both vehicles were purchased. They were purchased for over $71,000 as opposed to $54,000, and according to your slide, you spent almost twice for the ag building than the bond allowed, but you never said where that extra money came from. And so I have the list of all the purchase orders for that bond fund, and I have the actual bank statements from that bond fund. So I matched purchase order with a check to the actual account, and I go through, so all of that was paid, and then I start tallying things up. If it was a construction expense, it went here. If it was, because I started noticing a ton of them, if it was computers, networking, or consumer electronics, it went here. And if I couldn't quite classify it, and it was just miscellaneous and textbooks, it went here. So the textbooks ended up being on there about, I guess you were over $55,000 for, no, $50,000 for textbooks and miscellaneous and things like that. The computers and the computer networking, that was over $141,000. And then when I added up all the construction stuff, you were over $600,000. And when I added the whole thing up, you were pushing $1.7 million. And so my question was, well, where did the extra 0.7 or the $700,000 come from? And so I go back through all the bank statements, and there are no deposits except for some, you draw interest on that account. And I was looking, well, that didn't add up to $700,000, but if it was, I was going to put my money over there. But it didn't, and so I went back through audits, because then it should have been, the money was in the account sitting there. And so I had to find out where the money came from, and it was in the audit. So I called the previous auditor, not the new ones we have, but the ones that were let go, and he looked it up for me and called me back, nice man. And it was a deposit from July 2013, $985,000, which, and I believe the only bond that was open at that time was the high school bond. Am I right? I don't know. There may have been something else, but I don't know. He didn't know. He just knew it came from a bond fund, a bond account. And so when I went back through the minutes in that May of 2013, y'all approved to sell bonds. So $985,000 went into that account. And he said only about $220, $215 was spent, and so the money just sat there. Now, by law, if a construction project or any bond project is finished and there is money left over, that money goes back to the sinking fund to repay the debt. It doesn't just get to sit there and collect interest. And I know that at that time there was a big upheaval. That's when you were hired and all this other stuff. But it's just another example of you have no idea what's going on. That there was $700,000 sitting there, sat there for about a year before then it was just blown. Now, granted, these are some good things. These are textbooks and things like that. But they are things that should not come out of this bond fund. They are things that were not intended with that bond fund. And seriously, there are things that need to be done here, but there's no way we can hand you another $1 million. And we just like to see you start to get the house in order. And it's not that hard. I mean, it's just a calculator. It's not that hard to figure this out. Thanks.